Welcome to the Money Mentors Podcast.
I'm going to admit, I've had it. I'm up to here with all this cold weather, snow and all that. I'm getting out. I'm going to get warm. I'm going on a 4-day cruise, and I'm going to love it, lay in the sun, and do nothing but get my bones warm.
Yeah. I feel like I'm having a flashback. And if we could think back, Jennifer, and pull, our old radio shows, what time was it last year that Gary had this conversation? Because I really do remember him being like, starting the show, like, I'm so sick of the cold, you guys,
You Michiganders will love it. God bless you, you're Canadian. You're not American, you're Canadian.
Your blood's getting thinner, my
Iceland.
dad.
Well, when you have Reykjavik, at whatever that town is up in Iceland, and it's warmer there than it is in Florida, something's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Something's very wrong.
I agree.
Get that vitamin D. It's crucial this time of year so we can push through till spring break. And then we're almost there, but February usually is a harder month for a lot of us.
So what do we tell our clients? Control what you can control. When the market goes down, you want to be buying. Market goes up, you want to be harvesting. When it's really, really cold and you're sick of it, go on a cruise. That's what I'm going to do. I can control that.
There you go.
Take care of it. And if you're like Gary, this is the time. And here's the really cool thing about retirement, the thing we talk about every single week here on Money Mentors. When you actually set up your financial plan, you can tell your money mentors, hey, I hit this down period during February too, and I want to schedule regular vacations there. They actually build that into your plan for you. And we're going to talk more today about how to build the kind of plan that gives you that kind of freedom, financial flexibility, and more. And if you'd like to get in touch with our team about anything we discuss on today's show, feel free to do that off the air at 800-536-8907, or get to know our team online anytime at mattsonfinancial.com. But each week here with Gary and Laurel and your money mentors, we like to dive into the topics that are happening right now in the news, the things that matter to you financially too. And guys, from Dow Chemical, UPS, Amazon, and Home Depot, a number of major corporations are slashing jobs this year. Those are three that I can think about just in the last week or two. And so many economists say this might be just the start of a wave of layoffs from companies who are still too big after the pandemic. Now, behind the thousands of pink slips going out that we hear about, these are real people who were losing a paycheck. I always think about that. So when someone comes to you when they're in this type of situation, they're already close to retirement as well. How do you walk through this, what can be kind of a shock with them?
Yeah, and that's the hard part. Like you mentioned, Jennifer, these aren't just big names. I mean, yes, these are worldwide, some of these names here. But Dow Chemical, when we hear that one, I went to SVSU, Saginaw Valley State, and so that's pretty local for us. And you hear about, 4,500 individuals getting that notification, and then it obviously spirals into, if that happened, is there another wave? And so Amazon, Home Depot, UPS, those are around here too. And so this isn't new to us. We've had so many of our clients come to us because they've been a part of a buyout. Some have been really tough to get through, right? That's a lot of emotion when you've been somewhere for a decent amount of time and you weren't expecting change. Others, we had the opportunity to really kind of reframe through that and say, well, maybe you're in your 50s and this is the time to say, how do you want to finish out your career? What does that look like? We've had some individuals, I'm thinking of some of our clients who are in their 60s, and they said, I didn't think I would retire at 62, but after we've had more conversations, I think of a meeting Dad had, they went home and came back for another meeting and they said, I think it's time, right? Dad showed the numbers. He laid everything out. And that's the important piece is we're going to walk through how long can that current income last? What health insurance gaps are there before Medicare age at 65? And whether that early retirement option is something that you can do and your portfolio can handle, or does a bridge job make sense?
Yeah.
And so we've had individuals say, this allowed me now to do something I'm passionate about. I can still go earn money, but kind of on my own and balance maybe a semi-retirement life. Maybe I'm not working 40 hours anymore. I'm working 20 or 30, and I get some of that time back to do the things I want to do. So we really help them look at the opportunity, obviously from a point of financials, making sure that that works for them, but also from the emotional piece, because finances and money makes people funny. And we want to make sure that you feel confident with whatever plan and whatever happens next, because some of those things that come your way you can't control, but we can control the outcomes and how it looks from there.
And it helps so much, like Laurel said, to have the black and white, the numbers there to say, yes, I'm going to go get a job that I enjoy. And so I don't have to have that big paying job. I just have to put enough money in my paycheck so I can have my health care and do the things I want to do, because your 401k or your retirement plan's already built up to what you need it. And making sure your retirement plan earns what it needs to going forward. And let's face it, just look at a 2.5% difference on your return. If you're getting 7.5% on your account versus 2.5% more, or 10, that means you're actually going to have an extra doubling period, which means when you get to retirement, if you're going to wait 10 years, you're going to have an extra 25 or 30% in that portfolio just by getting that extra 2.5%.
Wow.
And how do we help you do that? Because we look at your fees we're doing and also returns. We're going to be reactive to the market, and we can do that with your 401k where it's at.
And think about that, though. Something happens to you pre-Medicare age, pre-65. Obviously, financials, right? We need to make sure the investments and income are taken care of. That's what everybody thinks of first and foremost when it comes to a retirement plan, right? Do I have enough money that I can't outlive? But what's often forgotten or thought about later on, possibly, is the health insurance, what plan to be on, what's right for me, what are my premiums I'm going to pay. And fun fact, your premiums when you're 65 are actually based on your income 2 years prior. So it's really important to make sure, what does your income actually look like those 2 years prior, so you're not overpaying in premiums, right? You can control that.
Yeah, we have clients come in this last week, and one of the things they've been fighting with, if you would, in their income struggles is the Medicare additional premium, because they're a high income for lifetime. And he was an attorney doing very, very well. And when it came to the Medicare coverage, they were getting their IRMA, which is an additional charge to you if you have Medicare, and they were trying to get out of that bracket. So what we helped them do was do some rollovers this year, like Laurel said, doing some IRA to Roth IRA conversions. And that way down the road, 2 years from now, they're going to get rid of IRMA. It's not going to be part of their plan anymore, because we, again, plan for that in the future and knowing what those numbers are.
I love that you're looking that far ahead for your clients, too. Again, it's going to save them so much money down the line, more that they get to keep for their retirement. And I know right now it is uncertain for a lot of people in a lot of different industries. We're hearing more about these layoffs, but I want to help some of our listeners out there control what they can control. But how can they do that with you at Mattson Financial Services?
If you've been laid off or you're worried that you could be, and you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, you can give us a call. Be one of those first 5 callers, and we'll sit down with you locally here in West Michigan and map out your real options before fear makes decisions for you. We want to show you in person what that looks like. So you can contact us at 800-536-8907 to get started today.
Get out your calendar and talk to our team off the air. Again, that number is 800-536-8907. And it's complimentary for you today because you've been listening here on Money Mentors. Or you can always just go online and set up a simple 15-minute getting to know you phone call too at mattsonfinancial.com. And a lot of us are starting this process of filing our tax returns this time of year. But it's interesting. Go Banking Rates points out, while tax deductions get the most attention during this tax season, it's actually tax strategies that have a much bigger long-term impact on your finances. So what's the difference for our listeners between, just a simple deduction and an actual strategy?
Yeah.
Well, the big thing here is that you're looking at what we call a standard deduction. That means that you're going to have a government-issued decrease in your taxable income. For a married couple, it's right around $30,000 now. So if you look at it standpoint, you have $100,000 of gross income. You take $30,000 away. That means you're going to be taxed at $70,000. The nice thing about that is you don't have to itemize and do all those type of things. So you just get that standard deduction. Now we have people that say, well, what if I'm in the tax bracket that I'm over $130,000, so I'm entering the 22% tax bracket from 12. By the way, that's the highest jump in the tax code. So that's a 10% jump. Again, the highest in the tax code, but I don't want to be in that 22. I want to keep below the 12. What can we do? Well, you want to have the same income, but you don't want to pay taxes on it. That's a wonderful thing to say, right? by the way, you can do this by doing tax strategies, meaning that we take money from an IRA, pay the tax on it, expose it to the tax, and put it into a Roth IRA. And you do that, and then you never pay taxes on that amount again. Some people have a misconception that they're going to wait till age 73 and then take their required minimum distributions they have to take, pay the tax on it, and put it in the Roth. You can't do that with required minimum distributions. You can afterwards, whatever's left over you want to move in the tax bracket, but you can't do it with required minimum distributions that are forced out. You can't convert that to the Roth. So you really want to start that Roth plan today. You could be working hard, putting money in your 401k and those type of things, but you really want to have the Roth plan now. Depending upon where you're at in your tax bracket, you want to have that analyzed and then put money as much as you can into the Roth 401k or otherwise. Or if you're already in retirement, even if you're doing required minimum distributions, if you've got a healthy IRA out there, it might behoove you to take that extra money that you're not filling up that 12% tax bracket and move that over to the Roth.
And I think the thing to look at here is, as we're talking about being in tax season now and deductions, all of these things, that's really rear view mirror planning. Strategies, when we talk about tax strategies and planning, that's forward looking. So when we talk about a real tax strategy, and Dad's giving you those examples here and thing, that's when income is taken, not just how much, right? Some people say, oh yeah, I know I'm going to take $2,000 a month. That sounds good. But what's the strategy behind what bucket to pull from and when? Also, what accounts are tapped first in retirement, right? Every person has a different plan, so not everybody should be taking the same way. But you can't forget to coordinate Social Security, required minimum distributions like Dad was just talking about, and that investment income. So you need to really have this layered planning in place between investment strategy, tax strategy, and retirement timing. And that's what we specialize here at Mattson Financial. Along with our in-house tax preparer, we have this service to make sure we're having that 360 view for you.
This is all part of our special offer today here on Money Mentors. Let's come in and plan ahead for these things. Let's build that tax strategy into your retirement plan. Again, our number is 800-536-8907. Or you can find more retirement resources through our website too this weekend at mattsonfinancial.com. But next, why some of your retirement dollars may be doing absolutely nothing for you, even if they're in an IRA. We'll explain that one next as Money Mentors continues on Wood Radio.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
As always, if there's something that you would like to know more about here on the show, you can do that in a couple of different ways. Go to our website, mattsonfinancial.com. It's easy to drop us a line there, or you can find us on social media wherever you are, Facebook, Instagram, and more. Just do a search there, too, for Mattson Financial Services and get to know the team there. But think about this question this weekend. Do you or have you had cash sitting in an account doing nothing for quite a while? It actually happens more often than we might think. Vanguard behavioral researcher Andy Reid tells Morningstar's Longview podcast that they actually studied this issue, Gary and Laurel, and found that a lot of younger savers especially have cash sitting in IRAs.
First, we actually asked them, do you know how your IRA is invested? Because we didn't want to spill the beans. And a lot of them thought that it was invested in either in the market, in the stock market, or a mix of stocks, equities, cash, etc. And very few of them actually realized that it was sitting entirely in cash. So that was the big aha, was that they don't even know that they're sitting in cash. And then we said, this may come as a surprise to you. Our records show that you're sitting entirely in cash in your IRA. Why is this? And most of them said it wasn't intentional. They either didn't realize, they meant to do it, so they procrastinated, but they never got around to it. Or a number of investors actually told us they thought it was automatically invested. So in other words, they thought the IRA worked like the 401k.
So I found that pretty interesting and love that they asked people about it. But how do we make sure that, we keep that money in our IRAs and other accounts working for us?
Well, kind of think of this. You're going to hire somebody, and now they're going to put siding on your home. And so they're going to do it. You bought the product, so you've funded the siding itself, and now they're going to get paid by the hour. So you come home, and they're sitting on the front porch drinking lemonade.
That would
you kind of look at them and says, what's going on? I'm enjoying my lemonade. I don't think you've started work yet. Well, that's true, but you're paying me even though I'm sitting here drinking lemonade.
I would start sweating.
Yeah, how would you wouldn't like that, would you? That's what happens when you don't have your money fully invested. You're losing money that you should be earning. It's just like paying somebody for doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when you look at it, you say, well, gee, I don't have that. You might have it because of circumstances. What I mean by that is that sometimes when you have your money invested in a mutual fund, sometimes they close that fund and they take the money out of that so it's sitting in cash. We found that. Other people are looking and saying, well, like you said, I wanted it to be invested. We thought it was doing that automatically. You do not want your money to be idle because, again, it's there for a reason and you want it to earn. So how do you make sure you're doing that? You got to look at your statements and your holdings. For us and our clients, that we have a pinwheel, if you would, and it shows the different categories we're invested in. Is it stocks? Is it bonds? Alternative assets? Maybe precious metals? Whatever it is, it shows what those are, and then you can look in the statement and see what you're actually holding. This is so important because, once again, if you're holding cash, you're not earning anything. And generally, when I mean anything, you might be getting 0.1% on that cash. And you're not even keeping up with inflation. So you're actually going backwards.
Yeah. I think most of us don't look at it that way, but yeah, you're losing purchasing power. It's just sitting there. And I always think about, what the market's done over these last several years. If it has been quite some time since you've actually made any changes, I mean, think about what you've lost out on. But it really matters what you do from here, right? So for our listeners who aren't sure, how their dollars are invested, or, maybe they've gotten some of those notifications that, hey, this fund closed, so you're in cash in this particular position. How can they come in and really reevaluate where things stand and really get that money working for them again?
Yes, you can be one of the first 5 callers to get a no-pressure retirement account review to make sure your dollars are working as hard as you did for it. That's something we talk about all the time here as kind of our mantra. But another thing I want to add into this that I think is very relevant to our listeners is how many times maybe do you have a 401k or an IRA that's invested at a firm? You don't really have a tie to the advisor, but then you found out that that advisor who you did work with, when you did call in every now and again, because likely they didn't call you, they're no longer there.
Wow.
And so you have found out, I don't even have a person anymore, or it did change, but I've never met that person or spoke with that person. So I want to, shout out to those individuals that, yes, maybe you don't know your investment choices, you haven't had somebody look at it, but also if you know that maybe advisors have changed and you just haven't had direction, let us help you, right? All you have to do is give us that call. Once again, that's 800-536-8907, and we're going to take that heavy load, that heavy lifting from you and put it on us. That's what we enjoy, right? So we're going to ask you to gather a few things, right? Little bit of homework, but right now should be a really good time. I'm going to have you kind of hit that easy button because you probably already started gathering these things right now already because it's tax time. So this is a way, let's check 2 boxes here. Let's get started on your plan. And if you don't have anybody who's actively managing your 401k where it's at, we do offer those services too, because I don't want to just see you in a target date fund or sitting in cash. Once again, your money has to work as hard as you did for it. So let us help you get there.
Take advantage of our offer this weekend. In fact, you can talk to our team off the air today at 800-536-8907. They're going to give you a list of those things to bring to get the most out of those first visits. And again, it's complimentary for you today when you're one of our first few callers here at 800-536-8907. Or you can find out more about that investment philosophy at Mattson Financial Services. Just do a search for us online or visit us at mattsonfinancial.com. And I think most of us, Gary and Laurel, spend our years socking away money in those 401ks, IRAs, or other retirement accounts with the goal of using it to retire someday. But Kiplinger points out it's just as important to have that plan for distribution of those dollars as it was to save it. But that really does require a different type of plan, right?
Oh, it's so funny because as soon as we say this, it comes up to a client that we had that came actually from way up north, Lower Peninsula, but way up near the tip up there. And they came in with his wife, and we did the complete plan, and we have something called a compass report. That report shows how much income is going to come in, how the investments are going to work, and we don't show current returns. We don't show the best returns. We use a very moderate return on that. So we show that at the end of their lifetime, they had a few $1 million left over because it still grew at that moderate rate. And they both looked at each other, held hands, and he started crying. He said, you don't realize the emotional wreck I've been knowing that I have to leave my workplace. I can't rely on my paycheck anymore. And I was worried that we're going to run out of money. And when you have that black and white, so you can see exactly where your income's coming, what our tax is going to look like, what can you do to minimize things, what happens when the market goes down, are you going to be okay?
When to take Social Security.
All
when
of those
to file
pieces.
for, health insurance and how that works for each spouse.
Yeah, you're going to have to file quarterly taxes, or are they done for you? These are all the things that you don't know when you get to retirement and you want to get through retirement and all those things that go along. And like one of our advisor here says, that I just love, he says, when you come to Mattson Financial, we're going to prepare for those things, those inevitable things that are going to be negative to your life. But you've already gone through them because we've talked about it. It's not a surprise. We don't like it, but we know we can get through it. And with guidance, that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. And we often talk about an analogy of a mountain, too, when it comes to accumulation as you're saving money, right? And then you get to this top, and now you're looking down. Going up this mountain maybe was pretty easy, right? You've got little pillars here and there that you have to navigate through. But really the challenge is once you're at the top, figuring out how do I come down this mountain? And that's where a lot of the mistakes can happen. And those mistakes can be very costly. So those are things and those conversations we want to make sure we help guide you on your way down, because not only do we need to make sure everything makes sense from a financial standpoint and you feel confident with the numbers, but also the emotional piece, like Dad was just talking about. There's so many changes that happen when you go from working. Perhaps some of our clients, they've been at one place for 30 years. And to know that steady paycheck is coming in gives them so much comfort. And now they have to switch to say, okay, now I'm still doing the same thing, but it's coming out of my assets. What does that even mean? So we help all of those looming thoughts. We put it on paper so you can actually see this written plan in front of you from the moment that you meet us all the way until you pass. And perhaps if you're married, your spouse passes. And then we also have those conversations to say, what happens with those dollars, right? What does the legacy piece look like? Are you trying to spend it all down? Are you trying to save for kids and grandkids? Do you want experiences along the way now? Or do we have some charitable giving that we want to make sure we add into this? So those are the great conversations that we have around our table here at Mattson Financial.
It's so cool for a couple that came in last week is that they have their children working with us. And they said that the satisfaction they have is the fact that when they give children the money, they're also giving them the wisdom of money and how to use it and the taxes and all things go with that. And we learned that by doing that with the kids, it was going to be cheaper for the parents to pay the tax on it and pass the assets to the children than it's going to be at the children's level because they're doing very, very well. So once again, is passing as much as you can. Who should pay the tax?
And again, this is the advantage of that forward planning, looking well into the future. At Mattson Financial Services, too, it's not just about getting you to retirement, but as we're talking about getting you through retirement as well. So let's get started on that plan today. Again, you can reach out to our team at any point during today's show, 800-536-8907, or whenever you get where you're going this weekend, set up that 15-minute phone call through our website at mattsonfinancial.com. But next, the latest on interest rates and how that could impact your plan in this year. Plus, are those annuity bonuses you hear about too good to be true? We'll talk about a controversial subject coming up next as Money Mentors continues on Wood Radio.
You're listening to the Money Mentors Podcast.
You can check out more about Gary, Laurel, your money mentors at Mattson Financial Services. You hear a lot of our voices here every weekend. If you want to get to know us, do a search for Mattson Financial Services or go to mattsonfinancial.com and keep up with everything that we're doing at the office, too. We get a lot of fun updates on our Facebook and Instagram pages, too. Do a search there for Mattson Financial Services. And each week here on the show, we're talking about some of the things that are going on in the financial headlines that impact us specifically. And here's a big one in the last couple of weeks. There's no change here in interest rates so far in 2026. Now, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell explains this decision to leave rates right where they are for right now.
Having lowered our policy rate by 75 basis points over the course of our previous 3 meetings, we see the current stance of monetary policy as appropriate to promote progress toward both our maximum employment and 2% inflation goals.
So I know the Fed's hit the pause button here, Laurel and Gary, but what are some things that we need to know about how this might influence our investment strategies we head through this year?
You know, when I hear him talk like that, I just hear blah, 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 not changing interest rates.
I know.
Yeah, what does that really mean? And the big thing here is when you're having an interest rate that's still quite high and no change, the market, for the good part, actually anticipated this. So with that in mind, the markets did very, very well. In fact, we've had a great run so far this year, January and February. And so when you have no interest rate change and you see what's going on, well, where's the opportunity? You really want to look at what we call non-correlated assets, or NCAs. Non-correlated assets are assets other than stocks and bonds. So what could they be? Well, real estate, private equity, hedge funds, commodities, foreign currency, things like cryptocurrency. These are opportunities that you may have an opportunity, if you're looking for, that give you a great stabilizer in your portfolio. And you're saying, well, how can they be stabilizers? Because everybody has stocks and bonds. Well, the problem with stocks and bonds are that a third of the time since 2000, so for the last 25 years, a third of the time when the markets go down, stocks and bonds go down together. Whether it's 10, 15, or 20%, they go down. If that's all you got in your portfolio, you're eating all of that loss. Wouldn't it be nice to have availability that when it goes down, you can buy into it at a discount? Right now, cryptocurrency is at an all-time low from an all-time high as far as the last 12 months go. Mm-hmm. So you really want to look at it from the standpoint, if I'm owning cryptocurrency and it's up to the 120s and that type of thing, and I sell that off, now I've got assets that I can go into and buy into a lower market. So I'm buying low and selling high. Oh, gee, Gary, I don't want to take the time to do that, or I don't feel comfortable doing that. That's exactly what we do for our clients. And we have no trading fees. So are we moving money because we're making a trade so we can make money, or are we doing it because it's right for you, the client? We're not going to charge you for that because that's our job. That's what we should be doing. And so having those non-correlated assets in your portfolio actually lowers your risk and increases your return.
So this is that time, right? If you're kind of wondering, is my risk still appropriate? What even is my risk that I'm taking on right now? How am I diversified? Or am I oversaturated in a certain section, especially when it comes to being invested in mutual funds? We've seen people come in and say, oh, no, I feel pretty good about diversification. You know, I've got a mutual fund over here and a mutual fund there. We run our reports. Then we get back to it and we say, oh, my goodness, you know, yes, you have different mutual funds, but actually underneath those, you have a lot of overlap in 1 to 2 areas. So we're not truly diversified. So we're going to have that conversation. But also the other thing to look at when it comes to getting a second opinion with our team here is your yield, right? Or that interest that you're earning. Is that aligned with your goals? We want to make sure that these things are actively managed and looked at time over time, because your life changes, your goals change, your health is going to change. And so we need to make sure that your plan is as flexible and changing with it. So we're keeping up with the markets and whatever happens with the inflation.
So for our listeners right now, though, who maybe need a second opinion on their current investments, a lot is changing in terms of a little bit more market volatility here in 2026. We're not quite sure about interest rates yet, but, you know, relatively speaking, they're kind of attractive right now, too. So how can our listeners come in and get that second opinion, run some of those reports with you?
You can give us a call. Be one of those first 5 callers to get a complimentary second opinion from our team here. And if those markets make you uneasy, if you're starting to wonder, I'm just not sure if my portfolio still fits my retirement timeline, contact us today at 800-536-8907 to start that conversation with one of our great fiduciary advisors here at Mattson Financial.
You can do that off the air right now at any point during today's show. Again, that number is 800-536-8907. Or if you have some questions you'd just like to go over before that initial meeting, you can always set up a phone call with our team at mattsonfinancial.com. And maybe because of where interest rates are right now, I'm hearing a lot of advertisements and seeing a lot of flyers lately talking about annuities. Now, I know some of the options can be attractive with these products, but some of these bonus numbers that are being promoted by life insurance agents out there sound a little too good to be true, in my opinion. So let's talk about these double-digit bonuses they're talking about. are they in fact too good to be true?
Oh, man.
There we go.
How much time do we have, Jennifer? First I want to say, we do believe in annuities, right? Not all annuities are equal. We don't participate or deal with variable annuities. We only like to look at fixed indexed annuities or guaranteed annuities, something that we know. Once again, when we go through this whole plan with you, if you have a certain amount of money, but you have a certain goal and we've got a gap, we might look to an annuity to say, here's a type of personal pension plan that we can have here that will help this gap. Or perhaps, we might look at this if we have a spousal relationship and Social Security numbers are in here. And if one of the spouses passes away, you now lose a Social Security. Yes, you probably get the higher of the two, but you're still losing one Social Security, and that changes things. So we might need to have an income replacement. But not everybody needs an annuity, right? And so, Jennifer, when you talk about a lot of people are throwing flyers out there, I've seen them, and that doesn't sit well with me because that's a transaction, right? Somebody's saying, hey, here's this flashy thing over here that you should be a part of, right? If this speaks to you, you can get this bonus. It's going to be great. But really, that's a one and done. That is not a plan. And we've had people come to us who have been burned by this in the past. They were a part of that one and done transaction. And then they come to us and they say, I don't even know what I got into, right? It sounded good. And maybe it is doing well for some things, but there really is no goal or purpose that this investment reaches. And that's the whole thing is anytime here at Mattson Financial, if we are recommending a portfolio and that's in the stock market or maybe in need of life insurance or some type of guaranteed asset like an annuity, there's a reason behind it because of a stated goal. So I don't want to say all annuities are bad because they are not. We do believe in them as well, but only sometimes. But that's the other thing too, is we don't sell products. We evaluate the need and we make sure that it makes sense for the client.
And understand when you're getting a big bonus on annuity, several things are happening. Number one, you're not going to be able to tap into that bonus for a period of time frame.
Okay.
It could be 10, 15, even 20 years before you get fully vested into that bonus. Secondly is the factor that when you're seeing these numbers, they're giving you all the positive things. Hey, your money is guaranteed. Your money is going to have a 40% bonus. You're still going to grow within the markets. Those all sound wonderful, but what's the negatives? The negatives are that you can't touch your money or you have a huge surrender charge to get into your money. And if certain things come up, you're locked out of those dollars for the future. Mm-hmm. So once again, why are you buying that product and how it fits into your plan? If you have that or you're thinking that, give us a call at 800-536-8907. We'll put a plan together. We'll show you how this fits into the plan or doesn't fit in the plan, and we'll show you the negatives of that choice as well.
When it comes to our meetings and we talk about investments and all these things, and actually it was so funny because we had a meeting the other day and I remember an individual saying, is that red marker coming out? So we have all types of colors, right, in the conference room when it comes to writing on the board because we're very visual people. Still a little old school in that way too. But the cons, right, or whatever you need to know that could be a negative, we're going to be very transparent about and put red up on the board. Mm-hmm. Because like Dad said, there could be some absolute great things here and we still want to recommend it for a certain reason, but we want you to understand the bad things or the negative things about it too, because there are trade-offs. Dad mentioned it there, but we would love to help you annuity stress test. Maybe you have an annuity and it's been 3 years at least or longer, and you're wondering, is this even what it should be doing, or how does this even fit into my plan? This is a really good time to get that second opinion. Interest rates are still good too, so perhaps if it's an older annuity, it's something that we can look at, kind of like mortgages. You might want to refi, right? How can we make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck and tying back into always our mantra of making sure your money works as hard as you did for it?
Feel free to reach out, get that second opinion on that annuity you've heard about or the one that you already have. You can do that again with our team off the air today, 800-536-8907, or drop us your questions through our website at mattsonfinancial.com. But next, a conversation on risk and why so many Americans are confused about gambling versus investing. We'll have some shocking numbers for you coming up next as Money Mentors continues on Wood Radio.
Getting you not just to, but through retirement. This is the Money Mentors Podcast.
Thanks for checking out the Money Mentors podcast with Gary Mattson and Laurel Steward. You can get to know the entire team at Mattson Financial. Just do a search for us, Mattson Financial Services, or find us at mattsonfinancial.com. Get ready here for an eye-popping number associated with the big game this weekend. The American Game Association says Americans will wager a record $1.76 billion on the Patriots and Seahawks this weekend. Woo. Oh, boy. So what is even more interesting, though, about their survey, their study of these bettors shows that 28% would describe their gambling activity as investing. 28%. I'm thinking that we might have our priorities mixed up here, though. So let's talk about the difference, because I do think with this gambling culture, with apps now, it's a lot easier to just go put your money on these things. Ooh, but this makes me a little nervous.
Well, I'm going to go with K9's going to have a great game.
Okay.
You're like, K9?
Yeah.
Yeah. MSU running back, Kenny Walker.
Oh, Kenneth Walker, yeah.
His number 9. He was K9 at MSU. Did a great job for us there. He's over there with Seattle. I'm going to say he's going to have a great game. They're going to win. So if you bet on the Patriots, your investment is going to go to zero. I'm just telling you. Investing in a gambling structure is not investing. In fact, the story goes, if you've ever heard him, the guy that says you might be a redneck.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Foxworthy?
Yes. He says if your advisors tell you to buy lottery tickets, you might be a redneck advisor. So once again, I think he hit it right on the head that this is money. If you're going to bet, you have to be in a position you can throw that away and still be okay.
Entertainment, right? It's really entertainment, because when it comes to actual financial investing towards retirement, that's very intentional. Right? There's a goal, there's a dream, there's a driving factor behind those decisions. So the really key differences is probability versus speculation or process versus prediction.
And I think it's because, let's face it, we're inundated with the opportunity to gamble. I mean, it's everywhere
it's instant
now.
app. You can go online quickly. You scan a QR code on a commercial.
How many of us buy lottery tickets when it's at $1 billion because we're going to be the one?
Right.
And we even make our lists of what we're going to spend that money on, and the chances are very, very slim. So once again, we like probability things. When we do investing for clients, we like certainty, we like flexibility, and we like a direction that says we know we can obtain things. People come to us all the time and they'll say, gee, my 401k did this and your investment with you did that. And we say yes, because we set that 401k up to do better, because that's where you can take a risk. Why can you take a risk there? Because you're adding money to it on a regular basis. When we have money we're not adding to anymore, we don't want to take that risk where it goes down. We only want to go one way, and that's up. So you can have income from positive returns, not taking it from principal.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to always focus on long-term outcomes. That doesn't mean when things happen short-term, we're still going to make changes. We're still going to react, but we're not looking for short-term wins. And gambling is fun, right? And I hope you all do well this weekend. And
sometimes it's fun. I don't like when I lose, so I don't like the gamble.
Fun. If you like to do it, I don't like to do it, because I would rather spend money on shoes or something I can have physically in front of me and I can wear time and time again. But we don't want to focus on short-term wins like how gambling is. So we want to make sure that you have a plan in place. Your money's working as hard as you did for it. And there aren't just pieces here, right? We're actually talking about a plan. We talk about these 5 pillars. That's our intentionality here at Mattson Financial when it comes to retirement, is investing, income, healthcare, tax, and legacy. Those are the 5 pillars that make up a true retirement plan. And if you are missing any one of those pillars, you're missing a lot of opportunity. So we want to make sure we have that conversation. We're reviewing all of these different areas, and that's why we have our in-house tax professional. That's why we have our in-house Medicare and marketplace-focused agent who work with our advisors on your behalf to make sure that the plan that we put in front of you is going to be flexible, because we know life is going to change. But we've looked at all of these different things, different outcomes, and here are recommendations based on your dreams, goals, and desires. That's what we do.
And here's why this is so important, I think, especially right now. It seems like we're entering, again, we talked about it earlier, kind of this period of more market volatility as well. And so when you have a plan, though, that talks about all these different things, not just investing returns necessarily, I think it makes you a little bit more confident at a time like this. But I do want to talk about the risk associated with the market right now, because I am hearing a lot more people right now saying, hey, I'm going to jump into gold. Gold's doing really, really well. Or, hey, I've been hearing about this hot AI stock. I think I'm going to put some money there. In the same way that people are gambling this week on the game, I think sometimes that emotion part kicks in when we hear about different things in the news as well. And today, with apps and different things, it's easier to just throw your money at something like that too. But you take a really different approach with your investment philosophy, not to say you can't invest in things like gold or AI, but you are a little bit more methodical about that at Mattson Financial.
Yeah, we have parameters for everything we do and procedures. In other words, if we're going to go into AI, cryptocurrency, precious metals, we have a reason we're going into that. We're looking at as an investment to go in and buy at a certain level, and we know we're going to get out. When people say, well, I want some gold and I want to hold it, and I look at them and I says, are you looking to invest that way, or are you looking to hold it? In other words, you don't care what the market does. You just want the protection that gold can offer if something really, really bad happens. 99.9% of the time, they say, I just want it because something really bad happens. Great. We understand the parameters. Go buy it. Because when you buy precious metals and you're going to hold that, you're going to pay a commission to buy it, a commission to sell it, and you're going to have to protect that, store it someplace, a safe or whatever you're going to do that. And you're going to have that fee involved. And that's what Warren Buffett says. That's why he doesn't like precious metals to hold, because there are all of this intrinsic costs that go on with it. But if it's part of your portfolio and you're buying low and selling high at the right times, that's a totally different avenue or mindset, because we're investing. And investing means that we're going to put money into it. We're going to get out of it at a predetermined level. The same thing we do with stocks and bonds and all that. So we have an algorithm that we use, as well as other points that we look at and say, okay, it's time to get in or it's time to get out based upon a structure, and we're consistently doing that based upon that. So when our plan goes into place, it's not something if it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We just don't know when. In other words, is the market going to go down?
Yes.
Absolutely. No question about it. But the question is, when it does, what position are you in? Are you in a position that you eat all of that all the way down? Or are you in a position that you can buy into that? Like when COVID happened and the market went down 48%, we had real estate, precious metal into our portfolio. We could get out of those, buy into that much lower market. Not only did we get back to even quicker, but we made money within that 12 months. Because we did our research, we found out that anytime you have a global pandemic, always, historically, it came back within 12 months or less. So we felt, okay, we've got 16 months or less, we're going to be in this. How are we going to add to the portfolio for our clients? That's number one. Number two is we do not want to take income from a lost position. Anytime you take income from a lost position, you are going to run out of money.
We're going to invest to look at the critical income need to make sure you have the money you need every month to pay the bills. Then you're going to have your lifestyle items. And that's where if you come to us and you say, I want to buy some stocks, right? We're not stockbrokers. That's not what we do. We don't want to jump in and out like Dad was talking about a little bit there. So this is what we're going to say is, okay, this is your fund money. You're saying this is what you can lose. You get that, right? So you're going to do that on your own. We suggest E-Trade or what other platforms that you want to do, right? But that's a different piece. That's on your lifestyle side. We're going to manage that critical income need towards retirement, because for us, it's about singles and doubles, not home runs and strikeouts.
Absolutely. And I think it's so fun to see people go through a couple of market cycles with you there at Mattson Financial Services and see how this investment philosophy works for themselves. They get excited now about market downs because they see them as opportunities, much like you do as money mentors. But for our listeners out there, they are investing, and typically at a different stage of their life. When you're getting close to retirement, already retired, you don't want that risk of going on an app and gambling your money away. And a lot of our listeners are looking for, that balance and that kind of methodical approach. So how can they get started with us at Mattson Financial this weekend?
If you're nearing retirement or already retired and you want that second opinion, give us a call at 800-536-8907 to meet with our local family-owned fiduciary team right here in Grand Rapids. Again, be one of the first 5 callers and we'll build your Mattson map together. Remember, this isn't about products, right? It's about clarity, confidence, and protecting what you've worked your whole life for right here in West Michigan.
So talk to our team off the air. In fact, one of our great team members will be standing by for a few minutes after the show today at 800-536-8907 to go over some of your initial questions, tell you about what to bring on that first visit. Again, that number is 800-536-8907. Or you can always find more great retirement resources through our website, too, at mattsonfinancial.com. That's Mattson with 2 T's, financial.com. And be sure to join us here again next weekend for more lessons right here with your Money Mentors.
And remember, retirement isn't the end of your financial planning. It's just the beginning of what's next. At Mattson Financial, we help individuals and families write the next chapter with clarity and confidence, aligning your money with your dreams, your goals, and your legacy. Start your journey today at mattsonfinancial.com. And let's build your Mattson map together.
Thank you for listening, everybody, and stay warm.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Mattson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Mattson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Mattson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.